We will now welcome our panelists, moderated by Attorney Tanya Lat. So first, may we call on Dr. Benedict Sheehy of the University of Canberra, Professor Anthony Raymond Goquingco, the Corporate Secretary of the Far Eastern University. And lastly, Professor Mia Gentugaya of the University of the Philippines.
Well, thank you to Prof. Glenda for presenting the overview of the faculty fellowship. As you can see, they have been busy, very busy. And so this panel ties in with the previous panel. So as Attorney Rain mentioned earlier, we were talking about community. You know, it takes a village, it takes a community to bring up ethical lawyers. Okay, and the proposition is that perhaps the community has to start among ourselves in legal academia. Parang how can we come together as a community if we don't know each other yet? Okay, and so we've gathered we've gathered two faculty fellows. So Prof. Mia and Prof. Anthony have been under the tutelage of Prof. Ben. And so we'd like to get their experiences. You know, what was it like collaborating? So they are fellows with legal research and scholarship. Okay, and well, first of all, we'd like to start. What has the experience been like, you know, Prof. Mia and Prof. Anthony? You know, so it's like writing is such a solitary activity. You know, as you know, if ever we get instruction, it's one-on-one. Here, it was in the context of an entire group. So parang it was, imagine Prof. Ben. You know, Prof. Ben's very amiable. Okay, but I found out from his students. Okay, he can be very brutally frank when it comes to his comments. Okay, and he was telling me after the first round when they got together, it's like, oh, I'm so glad people haven't dropped out of the program because you know he was so frank. So I'd like to ask, no, Mia and Anthony, what was it like to be given feedback about your work in front of all your peers?
It was humbling, actually. Most of us have been in the practice for decades. We were professors in law schools. And then when you presented your initial idea for a paper, it's like, that won't get published. Think of something else. So it's like, it's a shock. It's a shock that you get that feedback, especially if you've been writing, or for example, for me, I've actually published a book and it's like, no, that won't get published in a journal. So it's a shock. At first it's like, do I actually know what I'm doing? But you know, later on, you start to realize legal scholarship particularly is very, very targeted. You're writing not to your peers in a sense. In practice, you're writing to a very specific community, and they're looking for certain things. And when you step back out of that initial shock, oh yes, okay, I understand why my topic got shut down. It's not going to fly. An international journal will not be interested in this. Or the other thing is, it's too broad. It's going to take us 15 years, 10 years. It will result in a 25-volume work on whatever it is. So you have to understand that. And once we understood that, it became okay. Now I know where Prof. Ben is going. I understand what I need to do, but it was a long process. And it also, you needed to accept that, wait a minute, I may not know everything there is to know about a particular topic.
Okay, I will pick up from where Anthony left off. So just to contextualize, I have been a practitioner for more than 4 decades. So you can imagine how it is to step into this course. But I would like to tell LEAP, says Glenda, Prof. Tanya, enrolling in LEAP in legal scholarship is one of the best decisions I made this year. Why? Because I think having survived Prof. Ben, and we will tell you a little bit more about that between Anthony and me. Well, number one, I echo Anthony's reaction. After the first day, I left my ego on the front door. Okay? So as Anthony said, we're all very seasoned practitioners. We're professionals. The first lesson we learned on the first day was, ladies and gentlemen, you have not been doing legal scholarship. What you have been doing is professional writing. Hello, you know? And why professional writing? Because sorry, Prof. Ben, I cannot miss this opportunity to distinguish and show off that I learned something. So professional writing is what we all do as practitioners, private practitioners. If we are judges, we are in the judiciary, we have a target output, and that is to resolve a problem, to resolve an issue. So all of us have been doing professional writing, except probably for the elite in this group, like Anthony, who has had published. So I am not a legal scholar, notwithstanding so many legal opinions and legal memos that I have provided, notwithstanding probably the close to 1 million pages of contracts I have drafted. So that was the first lesson I learned. Secondly, he taught us how to focus. Structure. Okay? And yes, I think all of us have gone through our research questions. We have learned so many skills. This is the first time I learned about Google Scholar. Oh, wow. I told Prof. Ben I wished I knew Google Scholar while I was doing my LLM thesis. So I'm passing this on to my advisees for thesis writing. So we are cascading what we've learned. And I think lastly, so it was scary, Prof. Tanya. It was very scary. We had our first presentations on the third day. We all failed. We made another presentation on our fifth day. We sort of passed. And 2 weeks after, we had an online conference again to present our research questions. So as of now, I think I have made 5 research questions. I am not sure if it will still pass, but I think one thing, Prof. Tanya, Ms. Glenda, we can promise you, by next year, by January 15, 20 of us have internationally publishable manuscripts with subject matters ranging from microjustice, licensing bar as a licensing measure. Does that produce competent lawyers? To Anthony and Ini, who are working on cultural property, to the breakdown of democratic institutions, a comparison of the Trump administration and the Duterte administration. Yes, we have even have animal rights. Gee, over there, a whole range, I tell you, a whole range of topics that I think each one of us have dug deep into what we have been doing in our practice, but are now transforming into something that what Prof. Ben would consider legal scholarship. And we hope will make a mark in the international publication for the Philippines.
Amazing. That's really amazing. I'd like to direct the next question to Prof. Ben. Okay, so it's from you spoke about the experience as fellows. I'd like to ask Prof. Ben, so you have structured this fellowship in a way that is very collaborative. It's like they weren't just working in isolation. You put them all together. And at the end of the first weekend, I guess, you were already friends. Can you tell us more about what was going through your mind when you designed it this way?
Thanks, Tanya. I also have to say straight away, thank you very much, Tanya, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to actually work with, the top level professionals in the Philippines who are second to none globally. So my hat's off. Made my life a lot easier. And part of the mandate was to help build that community. And so as I was designing that course, I look at although I was the course director, I look at the fellows as peers. We are peers. I'm more specialized in one type of work, they're more specialized in another. And it's sharing that discipline, that disciplinary knowledge. And so I think in terms of community building and designing it, I've always sort of tried to set it up that they are peers, teaching them how to evaluate each other's work so they're able to reflect and evaluate their own. And I've also asked them to evaluate my work and showing them when my work has been rejected and shot down. And so that we could see each other as peers and communicate that way all along. So I've designed the assessments that they would be giving each other feedback, and their last assessment's not actually assessment, but they'll be providing blind peer review to each other, the way peer reviewers work on journals. So in designing it, that was my thinking, to create that equality, create that community immediately.
So I'd like to relate what you said to what you did say before and what Mia said about leaving your ego at the door. Because when I was asking Prof. Ben before, so how was it? And then what happened on the first day, second day? And I remember you saying that you taught them about failure. And could you speak about that? Because I think it has to do with the ego and
Yeah, that one of my favorite sayings is that you learn to walk where you last fell down, and that that learning process. I published many articles, many journal articles, and I've been rejected far more many times than I've ever been published. And to recognize that rejection and failure is part of the process. It's nothing to get excited about. It's not a judgment of who you are as a person. It's a matter of learning to produce better work and to take the feedback that way. And, I have to park my ego at the door just like everyone else. We're just human. I'm lucky that I get to work with great humans. That's just prepare for failure in that if you categorize failure as that, but it's part of the road to success.
So Glenda, did you imagine any of this or all of this when you thought of this? So just like to give a big hand to Prof. Glenda. So Glenda was responsible not only for the LECP for training, so she's the project head for training for LEAP. So she was responsible for the LECP, but also the faculty fellowship was her brainchild. So did you imagine any of this? And can you talk about your experience? Because you got to see that was 5 batches, 5 batches fellows into different areas, but all collaborating. Can you tell us what you observed?
I did not, but I had a vision. I've always believed in communities. I've worked with a lot of communities, and I see the dynamics and the power of being in a community and mobilizing this community. I believe in the movement, and its power there, and it's just waiting to be transformed into something else. And I was happy actually when you proposed that the first fellowship will be on legal scholarship, because we're so focused on the substantive aspect of law, right? But when you proposed legal scholarship, I was happy because I am an advocate of legal scholarship, and I remember when during the Legal Aid Summit. During the Legal Education Summit organized by the Supreme Court, I remember in one of the regional focus group discussions that there was resistance, or let's say concern, about LEB pushing for legal scholarship. And that was, to me at that point, was something, I was sad to say the least. Because I have been a researcher for most of my work as a lawyer, and I know that as mentioned by Prof. Ben, that our lawyers are top notch, but when I cite, I don't see the names of Filipinos. So I have, for a legal scholarship to be considered as a journal worthy article, you have to have more than 100 citations, right, Prof. Ben? And I seldom see a Filipino named in my citation. So that is for me a sad thing. So when you propose it, I was so happy to engage you and deliver. Okay, so that's it. And then we develop more fellowships, and now we have at least 5 sets of fellows who are very much into. They are happy about the outcomes, no, in terms of the capacities and competencies they gain, and I look forward to really see them contribute to widening the scope of this community. So thank you very much, fellows.
Thank you. And incidentally, I think the fellows will also be graduating with the LECP graduates on Saturday. So we'll have a big graduation actually on Saturday. There'll be a march and all. So the next question I'd like to open to all of you, okay, because you're all professors in various capacities, and I want to make a special mention to Anthony because you've been directing the thesis program of FEU for a long time. You have dreams for legal scholarship in FEU. Prof. Mia, as a recent LLM graduate, long-time practitioner going back to school, but also a professor. What insights, what lessons have you picked up from the fellowship experience that you think would have a larger impact or implications for the way we teach in your respective areas? Like the whole thing of collaborating, working together, peer review. What have you picked up and what do you think could you cascade as professors?
First is, and I've told Prof. Ben this, that I'm adopting what, at least initially for my own advicees, is what he had us do the first week. 5 summaries of articles. Because when my experience, when I advise students for thesis or I go through the initial consultation before I say, go to this professor as your advisor, ask him. A lot of the time, the students don't do the research. And that is the foundation of legal scholarship. I've had a student come to me proposing a topic on a law that has been, repealed for 7 years. That just happened this past thesis cycle. So it's there. The students tend to take the preparatory research very lightly. Oh, this is a nice topic. AI and intellectual property law, because they saw it on CNN or whatever, but they've not read. So that's one thing that I'm going to start. Another important thing is the support among your peers. So if it's the students, among themselves also. All of the fellows in the legal scholarship program, we can attest. We had our low moments, or we had no idea where we were going. And 4 times, but great success story. She has a fantastic topic, a fantastic article in mind, and she was saying that we pass along articles or sources that we were using, and she was saying it was so helpful for her. And sometimes, especially for the young students, they feel that legal research or writing their thesis, legal scholarship, is something that has to be done in isolation, which it's not. I mean, you come across an article, it might not be that useful to you, but it might be very useful to someone else, and you just pass that along. Or an idea. I remember when I was doing my LLM in Georgetown, I remember I was writing a paper on nuclear non-proliferation, nuclear weapons. And one of the biggest problems of that particular treaty is that it's a paper tiger. It has no key. And I was stumped what to do. I had no way forward. And then I was talking to a colleague, a U.S. military man actually, a lawyer in the U.S. Navy back then. And he just said, we were just walking from one building to another. Why don't you think about the provision in the UN Charter that allows the UN Security Council to automatically take jurisdiction because it's a national security issue? And that was a way forward. It was collaborative. It was just, we were just walking from the International Law Building to the main building, from Hutong to the old building, and it just clicked, and that so it really is collaborative. So those are the two biggest takeaways for me. Do the research, and then you don't write alone. You don't write alone. They might, your peers, your friends will not do the writing for you, but they will be able to support you in ways that you don't think is big, but actually is so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I will complement that with something that I learned in our fellowship. We have, even after our intensives, we had a 5-day intensive just like most of you. But after that, we have the shut up and write sessions. What are they? We meet in Zoom on Mondays and Thursdays for an hour. And this is part of the collaborative. And I think, Glenda and Prof. Tanya, if you're talking of communities, I think in the past 4 months that we have been doing shut up and write from 8 o'clock in the evening to 9 o'clock, we have started to build a community. So we will just be there in Zoom. Sometimes Prof. Ben will join us and starts, it's like a recitation. So what have you been doing? So we would tell him, several times I had to tell him, Prof. Ben, I'm sorry, I'm in a rabbit hole. I don't know how to move forward. And all of the other fellows would start talking. And one of my inspirations was you, Anthony, when you started to talk about space law of one of your mentees. And she ended up with thought on, if a private astronaut gets hit on the head in space, who is liable? I got that inspiration from you, and I said, oh boy, yes, we have to find something so small in a sense and define it. So my first learning is there is so much to learn from, and there is so much to share among us. So I would like to adopt this shut up and work and write. That's one. Secondly, and I hope Glenda and Tanya and the rest in the LEAP program, I hope you will rejoice in this one, because this is a step. Well, Prof. Ben did not allow us to leave the conference room until we have plans. Okay. That is how influential he is with us. So I am very proud, and I hope I would like to speak for the fellows in our group. We have decided on creating a community which we will call the Philippine Society of Law Scholars.
Wow.
We are so convinced, brainwashed by all of you, that we are pebbles, that we have a responsibility to create more ripples, to create more scholars, to create better professors, whichever fellowship you are in. We will be the pebbles that will create ripples to widen it. So all of us have been sort of sponsored. We are the beneficiaries of the so many efforts, the hands and hearts and minds of the UP Law Complex, LEAP and LEB. So actually, I would like to tell all of you, all of us now are scholar ng bayan. it becomes our responsibility now to do something para sa bayan. So for us, and with apologies to PALS and to Whoops, where is the president of the IBB? We promise to gate crush you in PALS because we would like to make our mark. We would like to create ripples in PALS. We would like to create ripple in Davao City at the IBP convention. Dimples, you have to feed us. So that is now part of our contribution. I don't know if this is too ambitious, but I think the fellows in our group are doing our little bit. Each one of us has somehow learned something, and each one of us sort of promised two things. We will continue to speak with each other. We will continue to collaborate. And we are hoping, since all of us, I'm so proud to be in the presence of so many deans and associate deans. So they are in a position to start considering change. So I think that is our contribution. We are starting hopefully a modest community, and we really, really, truly hope that LEB, LEAP, the UP Law Center, we said, we cannot simply be pioneers. There must be a second batch. So that's our wish as well.
Wow, amazing. Prof. Ben or Glenda?
I think I was thinking about the Shut Up and Write event, which for me was 11 p.m. till midnight. But the hospitality here is outstanding. And my first trip here to launch it, I was given a little UP mug. And I always had that full of coffee, keeping me awake. But the idea of scholarship as a lone activity, yes, you can do it alone, but it's just that much less painful when you do it as a group. And so the institutionalization, in other words, the regular repetition of some type of event, keeps it happening, makes it happen. They say misery loves company, you suffer together. Well, these ones have suffered together. But that, and I found it very interesting because I've only done Shut Up and Write in a face-to-face context, and I didn't know if it would work online. And I know I've done it with my LLM students a bit, but this group has really picked up on it. And I think it really, weekly, there for an hour, they were good. They shut up. I was the bop, bop, bop. But they shut up and they wrote. And I think it's really built that community. So when I got here this time, they were a community. They were all set to go. And I just gave them a little nudge, said, yeah, why don't you guys institutionalize it? And I think that's how these, this great initiative that you and Leb has underway, that's how that's going to have those ripples. And this is going to go forward. This is the foundation of that change. You selected so well this group of scholars, young scholars, because they're getting started. So congratulations to you.
Right. Are there any questions from the floor? Can we join? Can we join? Answer is yes. Okay. So perhaps last words. For Prof. Mia, and then Anthony, and then Glenda, and then Prof. Ben, and then Glenda.
Okay, famous last words. No, will not be the famous last words, because really I think there's so much that can be innovated. There's so much. And I would like to believe, I really, really hope, I really, really wish that this, wow, you have so many events this year, and all the fellows, all of the participants in the LECP, I hear the same words of gratitude again and again. So I really hope this would simply be the spark now, and really looking forward to the 2023 year-end conference and seeing more fellows transform, and innovate. And I just wish if I can get someone to do a pledge during graduation, I would insist that every graduate of this event will make a pledge to be a little pebble wherever they are.
Last words. I'll piggyback off something I told Prof. Ben yesterday, that there's so much potential for the Philippines to be the leader in legal scholarship in Asia for a variety of reasons. And it all starts, more than the fellows, it starts with starting to affect the young lawyers, the students, and it's them who will carry this forward. So, Prof. Ben was surprised last Monday when I had invited two of my thesis committee members, and one of them's here now. But I hope that the fellows can also do the same to their other faculty, to their universities, and start encouraging their young lawyers, their young faculty, because I really do believe that the future of legal scholarship in Asia, the leader is not Singapore, not Japan, not China. It's going to be the Philippines. We have that. Thank you.
You just said it all for me. Well done. That's the Philippines. Oh, and let's do it again.
There's a long list. Okay, after running this fellowship program, I would just like to emphasize that we vetted the professors. And one of the main areas of vetting is the commitment to deliver. No? Of course, because we're using government funds, so there should be judicious use of funds. But of course, the commitment. No? I shared with my fellows, oh my God, that's
Ownership.
with the fellows. What will you do with knowledge that you gain? No? Are you going to keep it to yourself? That would not be the best way to move forward. You will not be able to contribute anything to society. You have the knowledge, you have the skills, you have the competencies, do something about it. And that will make the world a better place for everyone, especially for, we're talking about integrity, we're talking about honesty, we're talking about competence. No? Pero if it's all just within you, it will not matter. So let's create the ripples. Let's be the pebbles. No? And let's change the world. Thank you.
Everyone, let's thank our panel again, Glenda, Ben, Mia, Anthony. Thank you. Thank you.